This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Find great deals faster.
Hello, and welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. This podcast is designed by real people on their journey to achieving financial freedom, and we'll focus on people who've either already attained it, who are joining us on that journey, or maybe a specialist topic that can help you build your technical knowledge to achieving and maintaining that financial freedom. We hope you enjoy it.
Right, welcome back to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Today is one of our technical episodes, and the topic for today that we're talking about is your purpose and property strategy. This is actually one of the chapters in our book, and I think, honestly, it's one of the best chapters in the book. I read it the other day, and it was written by Phil, who's with us today. So welcome along.
Are you disappointed? It came across like you were disappointed I wrote that.
No, honestly, really good because, I read all your chapters in the book.
Yeah.
This, I think, is one of the best ones, the most high-value one in the book. And
I believe so.
Anyone that, wants to achieve financial freedom, especially in the property space, I think, understanding your purpose and how the strategy links into that is one of the most important things.
Absolutely. And it's often the thing that people get wrong and or confused between the two things. And that's hopefully what we're going to go through today. Before we move on, though, I've realised why studios bring change of clothes.
All right.
Because normally when we're in our uniform, you wouldn't be able to tell because we just wear the same thing. But now we're in dress down. Yeah. This is like the third on the episode we recorded in a day, and we've got them wearing exactly the same top.
Yeah, but they'll be released in different orders and all this sort of stuff. It's all good.
But you can understand. I now know what happens at
you want
TV studios.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Right. So first thing I want to know is what is the difference between purpose and strategy? Do you want to explain that?
Yeah. So I'm going to give a little bit of background.
Yeah.
I've also got up with something new exclusively for this podcast the way I'm going to interpret this a little
bit. Heard for the first time.
It's even slightly more different to the book, but it links into other topics in the way that we've structured things, which I really like. So the background to this is really, we've been in property. I've been in property since 2019 as somebody who's performing for myself. If that makes sense. And I think yours were roughly the same time, right? Maybe 2018.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a bit longer in construction and property, but,
Yeah, actually, in my own investments, it's about 2018 in the UK anyway.
And we know people who have been in property for themselves the same length of time that we have, who have not done anything, right? Now, that doesn't mean they are less good than we are at anything. There's nothing in the practical parts of what we can do that they can do because it's systems that we have, right?
Yeah.
The difference here, in my opinion, and it's an opinion again, is they are confusing purpose and strategy.
Yes. Yeah.
They are wholly
Explain
separate
that.
things.
Explain what you mean by that, yeah.
So here's the exclusive, right? So we talk in our book and we talk about when you're deciding upon your strategy, to understand where you are in the wealth hierarchy and to treat your life as a business, right? So here is your life as a business from purpose versus strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Purpose is marketing, strategy is sales. So marketing is the thing that drives all of the energy, and the sales is the systems that make it happen, right? That is, so if you're treating your life like a business, purpose and strategy in your life are like marketing and sales in a business. So I just want to put that out there because they're two separate things. So marketing, if you're marketing in a general world, is you're putting out a story and you're building trust and you're doing these things and you're finding a reason for being. You're telling that story of why your business exists, who it serves, and all those types of things. Sales is then executing the leads that come in from the marketing into an actual system that will then result in revenue at the end. That's it, right? So they're two different things. Sales is a system and marketing is a storytelling. So purpose is why you're doing something. So I talk on the circuit, you talk on the circuit. A lot of people have very similar purposes, which is it's family or it's time for themselves. It's it's leaving a legacy. It could be not feeling happy with the world. These things are all purpose driven. So, I mean, I talk openly. My purpose was I was in a very successful, reasonably successful career, very sales driven environment, a lot of hours, and I was taken away from home because it was an international role. And I realized towards the end of that part of that career that I wanted to be more at home. My wife has a disability. I wanted to be more there for her. And I wanted to get to a position where I could be more supportive, but also be more around I'd missed a lot of my family things growing up. which I think you have got as a thing, right? Because your kids are younger and mine are now grown. So
Yeah.
that you can't go backwards. But my purpose was really to do with that sort of like Nick's illness was progressing and so on and so forth. So the purpose is the why you're doing it. And I have to be really clear on this. A good thing to do when you're thinking about purpose is to think in a deliberately selfish way. Okay. It's not necessarily selfish as in a bad way, but deliberately selfish in a good way. So I could put out there for my purpose was because of Nick's disability. It was not because of that. She could get help from friends and family. She can get help from, other areas. I didn't need to be there. I wanted to be there. That's a different way of looking at things. So my why was I want to be here for this purpose. And therefore, to do that, I'm going to have to make some significant changes. Okay, so that was my why. Being honest with yourself is one of the hardest things to do. And what I find is people look for a reason to do something that's over and above what it needs to be, especially when it's things like property for some reason, is they not only want to do property or change something for themselves, but they also then feel like they need to change the world at the same time. And I feel like
only house people that need care or something like that.
Exactly. Is a good example as an example. And I don't know whether it's an embarrassment because you're trying to make money for yourself or invest in yourself or putting yourself out there or what people might think of that. Obviously the analogy is what other people think of you is none of your business. It's to do with their attitude, not yours. But what tends to be the confusion is people start with a purpose.
Yeah.
They lose that it's for them. And if something isn't for you, if your why isn't for you, you're not moving forwards. You're going to get stuck in the mud. So you are a great example of this. You want to be there for the kids. You want to be there for the events and the sports days and the plays
I saw a great nativity play, late last year.
Because
my daughter is the lead.
Was the lead.
Leader,
The lead. Second lead. I imagine the lead was a doll.
The baby.
She was the lead. She was Mary, right?
She had a toy. Yeah.
But you could be there without question.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody working a 50, 60 hour week who has to travel might not even be able to be there or have to make significant changes or ask for time off or all sorts of things. But that's not, that nativity would still happen. She doesn't necessarily, it's for you.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to be, I want to be there. Yeah.
And if you get your purpose right and deliberately selfish, you might have good altruistic reasons still, and it's for you, you're more likely to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Where people get this wrong, like you said, is they get either embarrassed because they're doing it for themselves, or they don't want to come across as being self-orientated. And then they go, well, not only am I going to do property, but I'm going to do property for this niche, marginalized group of people. So I can show to the world, it's not just about the money. It's about
I'm not just a greedy landlord or whatever. I'm doing it for a reason.
Yeah.
But what I think that misses is by being selfish to yourself and, achieving what you need to, you're actually giving back to others, aren't you?
Right.
Because
that is a good point, right? So
like your family as an example, you're there more for them. So
the reason it's deliberately selfish is because the best version of you is going to be the best version of you for everybody else around you. So if you are in a good space and you're performing both in your professional environment and your personal environment as the best that you can be, then you are going to be giving back to that world just as much as you're getting from it. Because you are the positive thing in that space. You can't always be the positive thing in that space. Nick likes to remind me of that regularly, right? But the key thing is, I am in that space and I can be that positive force, and I can be that guiding light, and I can be that deliberately selfish person who sits in the middle and goes, right, if I want to do this on a Tuesday, I'm going to do it, Tuesday afternoon, whatever it is for the betterment of my family. Where if I don't do that, then it's a choice, right? So getting that purpose right first and having that aligned with where you are on the wealth hierarchy, right? That is the first step, right? So the wealth hierarchy is before you even decide on your strategy, is then saying, right, my purpose is this. So if you're trying to get out of a job, generally speaking, your purpose is to replace the funds that you need to live your life, right? Not an arbitrary number normally. We hear it all the time. What do you want to achieve in property? And I write down on our calls. So anybody who listens to this is not going to do this now, right? So it's going to really get my trick gone.
Yeah.
I write down two numbers. One is 6,000 and one is 10,000, right? I write down 2 numbers on a piece of paper before every strategy call I have. At the end of that, at some point in that strategy call, so right, what's your target? Generally speaking, 90% of the time, it's one of those 2 numbers.
It's 5 or 10 grand, isn't it? A month?
6 or 10 actually. It's not 5. I don't know
It's
why
going
not
on to
5.
6.
Yeah, I don't know, 6 or 10. And I hold up a piece of paper and I say, I wrote these numbers down. So, and what that means is you don't know what your purpose is because you haven't taken time to sit back and go, well, what satisfies that purpose at the first rung of the ladder? And then I go back to the treat your life like a business. So the fundamental thing of a business is you need to be able to run your business. The cash flow has to be able to meet the needs of the business. Beyond that need of the business, you then head into profit. But the first thing is you need to be able to cash flow your business. So if your life is like a business and you are looking at it as saying, right, well, my cash flow in my life is 100% funded by my job, then the first thing to do is to find out what is that cash flow position that you need to run your life. That's not including the big stuff. I'm not talking about, holidays and, all that stuff. I'm talking about the fundamental.
Yes, I think what you're saying is if you literally get a spreadsheet out and go, right, what's my cost, say my mortgage or my rent, car insurance, groceries, mobile phone.
Yeah.
List out all those
the essential things.
The essentials either you need or you want every month to live, month in, month out, basically.
Yeah. And that is the first rung, which is, well, now I can live. That's the number I need to generate if I want to live freely away from those things. Now, if I have to sacrifice a holiday a year and I can still live, then great. Now, the caveat here is if you don't need to do that, then maybe you're not looking at cash flow straight away. Maybe you're in the profit space, which is actually, if you've got assets that can pay for your life, then doing other cash flow strategies might not be the thing that you need to do. You might need to look at, well, what is the best thing for me from a wealth generation? Well, it's to hold longer term.
Right. So I think what you're saying
assets.
there is like, let's say you're happy like with your current business or job or whatever, and you're going to work that until you retire. No problem. You're very, very happy with that. So maybe you're just trying to build up your pension or your wealth or something like that.
Yeah. And the problem is that top rung of the wealth pyramid, true assets. Now, property can fit in any of the spaces. It can fit in cash flow, profit, or assets. Property is on all levels, right?
Mm.
But what you're doing in property will change at each level.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're thinking, well, I'm going, like you said, I've got a business. I'm not necessarily in it day to day. It runs itself. I make a profit. There's no way that it's bulletproof. Nothing's going to happen, or whatever. Then maybe,
which is unlikely, by the way.
Yeah, it's unlikely. Most people are on the first level.
Yeah, because that's why my caveat to that is like you should always look for a layer of cash flow because even if you're happy in your job, that could be gone tomorrow. Even if you're very happy in your business or whatever, like marketing can change, that could be done tomorrow as well. So the cash flow initial layer gives you that security regardless of where you're at and what you're doing.
Absolutely. But there will be people out there that have assets that pay them.
Yeah.
It might be generational family assets, or it might be they've sold a business and they've invested in something else, which is not property based, and now they're looking at property.
Yes.
Right. So most people that get into property, I would say it's a good 80% plus are on the first rung of I need to replace some kind of. I've not got assets to pay for my life.
Yeah. You're right. People might already have, say, stocks and shares or dividend paying stocks or something like that. That give them X% return.
Yeah.
Even with a conservative level, they I can draw out that amount every month and live.
Whereas, or they might have something they could do 20 minutes a day, like stock trading or something like that. So then they're looking further up the tree. So the middle ground is the problem with buying the top ones is you can't necessarily always do great deals on really good quality assets. They are capital absorbers, right? So if I'm going to buy a premium property in a premium part of town, and I'm going to do it for capital growth and and it's going to be on a lower volume of cash flow, but it's still going to be consistent. It's going to be cash flow positive, but it's a generational wealth asset. It's probably going to cost me a pretty penny, and it isn't necessarily something that you can momentum invest in. That's the problem. And what happens is people get that confused. So they go, right, I need cash flow. I'm going to buy a single let property. And for me, a good quality single let property that's rented to a family who might have a 2-3 year tenure before changeover is a top level asset because your cash flow is low-ish, £400-500 probably in the north, or maybe £500-600 in the south. On a single let asset, there might be a 2-3 bed good terraced house in a good location, or a semi-detached or something like that. That's a top level asset.
Yes, I think
good location.
A good example to explain that would be, say, the single let you're talking about. Let's say you cash flow profit £300 a month
Yeah.
in that property. So to get to say £3,000, you need 10 of those. Or you could basically get one decent size HMO, like a 9-bed HMO or something, could possibly give you around about
Achieve it in one go.
You achieve it in one go. So like to get to that cash flow goal, the quickest way and the highest cash flow is going to be just one big HMO compared to 10 single lets. It's probably a good example. And another example, because we got queried this at a networking event actually, because we've got a mill that we're converting to 10 flats.
Yeah.
Cash flow for that roughly going to be say £3,000 a month.
Yeah.
But it's the overall value is about 2.25 million or something like that.
Yeah. It was about 600, 700 grand equity on day one.
Yeah. So the yield, like value per cash flow, like you could again get like a 10-bed, 9-bed HMO or something and get similar cash flow. But what's missing there is like it's a different type of asset to us because we've got lots of HMOs already. So then we moved over to this and said we want to do more of these single let, boring-ish type assets, or maybe not as high cash flowing, but they'll be solid and be well building over a long term.
And you can still do things like we're doing, which is add value through development.
Yeah.
But it's long term. It
takes longer as well. So that mill conversion, 2 years end-to-end process, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And so then there's the middle bit. It's the profit bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's the right. Well, how do I generate that? So you can either do more of the cash flow assets, more than you need and save, or you can do something different. You can do the trading, you can do the flipping, you can do what we do, which is the source and build. You can do you can do something else. It doesn't even have to be property in that space. You could do something to generate profit
then to invest
that you can then use to buy assets, because that's going to be your cash absorbing one at the end. So if you set a 10-year timeline, you said, right, well, what I want at the end of that 10 years is assets that pay for my life at the level that I want in year one and by the end of year two from cash flow to pay for my life. Then you're on a journey. You're starting on level one.
Yeah.
First 2 years, you're building up to that 3, 4, 5 grand, whatever it is. Then you're moving into the profit space. And then you're building up enough capital to then achieve the 10 single lets, which is or the commercial property in the nice area that's always going to be used, or whatever it is that's going to be lower, boring asset. You can pass down to your families. You're very rarely going to hear from the tenants. It's just going to be very easy to manage. And that's more of a wealth generation asset. So that's the cash flow, profit, and asset game.
Yeah, and I think the other big benefit of the generating profit from whatever way you're doing it is obviously, we've done property education, and to get to the initial cash flow goal, a lot of you have to either borrow a lot of money or your leverage quite high and things like that.
It's much riskier at the bottom end.
It's much riskier at that bottom end. So by bringing in the profit, you can pay back, private debt that might be expensive.
Lower LTVs when you buy an asset.
Lower your loan to value on the assets, and de-leverage and de-risk your sort of portfolio as well over time. That's why that can work really, really well as well.
Yeah, because if you can park capital from a profit plays into assets, and you don't even need leverage on that, you might not even need at that point any mortgages or anything like that, then that's a completely stable de-risked asset to a degree.
Yeah. So we've got 2 projects at the moment. One's the mill. We've got another one that we're converting, a big terrace into 2 terraces. The bulk of the funding outside of, one of them is completely funded from profit, isn't it, from our businesses? And the other, a large percentage of funds required outside of bridging finance and a bit of private finance as well. So, the risk on those, because the funding is not huge, of like private debt that would have to pay back over time and things like that. So that, it becomes a very, very secure, quite low risk asset as well for the long term.
So going back to purpose, your purpose then is, where are you on that pyramid, and what is the purpose that you're trying to do to apply to that? So for me, it was I needed to replace that income stream to live my life. So I needed to do cash flow plays. So I needed higher cash flow. So it's higher yield, it's higher value, it's probably higher risk, it's probably higher leverage, it's probably momentum investing. I need to add value in some way. I need to get educated more. I need to do more, I need to network more. I need to work more at it. It's going to be harder to do, but the revenue I make is going to be higher per, square meter, because it's property, than it will be at the top end, because cash flow is my premium, not necessarily equity at that point.
Yeah, and that's more important at that stage.
Yeah, so my cash flow is most important. It's not my equity at that point. Obviously, property hopefully goes up in equity depending on no matter what you do. So once you know what position you're in, then you can start making really smart strategy plays, which is the next part. Strategy follows purpose, okay? It's not the same thing. So if, for example, you've decided at that point that you need to replace your cash flow, that's what you need to do. So if you need to pay for your life, that's what you need to do. And the way to do that is to look at the cash flow strategies It's not then to serve this marginalized community over here, because you can't yet do that, because the analogy is when you get in an aeroplane, whose oxygen mask would you put on first if there's a problem? It's yours. Most people are good people that we meet in property, and they probably do want to do something that's not only for themselves, but is philanthropic at some point. And that's fine. You can do that. But Bob Proctor's saying is, if you want to help the poor, don't be one of them, you know? So if you want to help that marginalized group of people, perfect. Because what you're doing is you're going on a journey to first and foremost replace what you need to replace. Get to a position of financial freedom where you no longer need that to worry about those things. And then you can do whatever you want. So our example is, obviously, we started cash flow assets. We then launched a business which also replaced some cash flow quicker than we needed it, but it also generated profit. That profit we've reinvested into assets, and along that journey, we've moved then into the philanthropic world, and we fully sponsor this, school in Cambodia through the Psalm Foundation, helping children to stay safe in a war troubled country that was suffered in the late 70s, 80s due to the Khmer Rouge, and we help these kids feel safe and secure, and hopefully teach them English.
Yeah, and if we hadn't achieved that cash flow base,
couldn't do it.
Just wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, couldn't do it. I don't think we knew that we were doing smart moves at the time. I just think we were being more deliberately selfish than other people that we meet. And when I say
we're just a little bit more selfish to start with, or maybe we're smart now.
Yeah, but it was purpose driven, right? We both had really strong purposes.
Yeah,
and the purpose is clear.
Yeah, the strong reason why is that pushes you through, because it's property. It is challenging, isn't it? So if you got that real why and that real purpose, when things are a bit hard, you just push through it and keep going. Whereas if that's not strong enough, that maybe stops people moving forward, because it's not that easy.
Yeah, and when I meet people assume that I want more HMOs, and when I explain to them I don't, they then think I don't like HMOs. I'm like, no, sorry, that's not it.
It's played a really good purpose.
Yeah, it's paying for my life. My HMOs pay for my life.
Yeah,
but I don't want more of them for me, because I want to generate profit for further assets at the top of the tree.
Yeah.
And that's the game that I'm playing, because I'm treating my life like a business. My purpose hasn't really changed. That's my marketing story. But getting into those levels is where I am, and trying to redo that every year. So our targets this year are very much asset-based targets, aren't they? They're not. It stays still on the profit plays.
And to put a front of mind, because we obviously we're serving our clients and all these sort of things, but potentially the goal I've got this year could have got there maybe last year if it was more front of the mind as well. So I think.
But we were focused on profit last year, which is still, and that has, like you said, we have now 2 unencumbered assets. We have the mill that's being converted. We bought an office, commercial property. We'll venture further into that space. We couldn't have done those things if we hadn't have been that focused. It was the right thing at the right time. But you're right. If we had done it, we probably could have done it faster. But I don't think we had the
probably the profit wasn't there, like you said, which we build up to. So that's the gear, like going through the gears as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So just very briefly on strategy. So if you're looking to sweat an asset, or you're looking to generate cash flow, then cash flow strategies are either business that generates cash, or HMOs, which sweat the asset harder because you're getting more pounds per square foot. Service accommodation, same reason. Things like rent to rents, don't ask me about that, because
not me.
That's that big time. But that's basically where you're a middleman. You're providing a service, so hopefully, whereas profit plays are things like source and build programs, or it could be more cash flow than you need for the bottom lines, or
trading
to sell, or trading, or adding value, or
deal sourcing as well.
Yeah, deal sourcing and being paid to do something just on chunks of cash. And then you can put them into, hopefully, the assets that you can then buy. And the mistake that people make, and the mistake that I made, was buying that one single let, which is an asset play. It's been a great property. It's just not. It was not. When I sat there, I was like, well, I'm now making £320 a month. I've just put 50 grand into this, and it's nowhere near paying for my life. This is a problem, and it's only that realization at that point that I love single lets. They're top of the tree. I need to do something to pay for my life, and then buy more of those.
The other definition that I really liked from one of our guests, which I think was Adam Lawrence, I asked him, what is financial freedom to you? And he said something like, the interest you earn interest on that.
Yeah,
and you
the interest on the interest.
The interest on the interest. That's a real good one as well for like proper financial freedom.
Yeah.
So like if you've got whatever your cash flow you get to, if you can then even reinvest some of that.
Because you still might have the job.
Yeah,
for a while.
And when he said that, I was thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, I get cash flow in, then I invest a chunk of that into the S&P 500. That's like,
that's
and
like interest from that.
And you get interest from that. So you're getting interest from the interest. So if you can get to that position, that really gives you good security as well.
Yeah.
Stop the podcast now. This episode is sponsored by Property Filter. Property Filter is the #1 property tool for today's property professional. It brings in all the data points and sources from all the property portals and auction sites into one convenient place. Then you have the option to overlay all the clever strategies found in the Property Filter blueprint to find motivated sellers faster. Now, we use it on a daily basis. It saves us over 80% of our time when looking for properties. And if that sounds like something that you want in your lives, please go to register.property-filter.co.uk/PPB, which is the discount code for this podcast. You will get 2 weeks free and a discount on your first month. That's it from me. Back to the podcast.
So in this chapter that you wrote, you had there's 5 golden questions I think you had in there that you need to ask to work out your property strategy.
Yes.
Do you want to run through that in detail? Because I think that's a really, really good guide.
Yeah. So this is I've adapted it and stolen it a little bit. So I have to give a huge shout out this part to the book Ikigai.
Right. Yeah.
Which is the Japanese art of successful living.
Yeah.
Because because basically this is where you can align your purpose with your strategy a little bit.
Yeah, it's great. And it doesn't matter what stage you are in life. You need some sort of purpose. Don't you?
So whatever you're going to do is going to start with the first question. And this is another thing that gets missed. Is when I ask somebody, what's your property strategy? And they tell me, they might say to me, HMOs or service accommodation or, blocks of flats or commercial to residential conversions.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental property. But the first question is, whom do you serve? Because that dictates everything else. So once you've got your purpose sorted and with its cash flow, profit, assets, the next thing is, whom do you serve? And the reason that's so important is, if, for example, you want to do high-end service accommodation for holiday dwellers and you put that unit somewhere which doesn't serve those people, then you've just spend a lot of money on something that's not.
Yeah, so simple one for HMOs. Who do you serve? Say students or young professionals. Exactly. Usually it's single young professionals as well, because a lot of the rooms aren't couple. And then if you move into, say, that higher hierarchy where it's like blocks of flats, who are you serving there? It's probably more so couples, depending on size, maybe families, or it could be retirees and stuff like that.
Yeah, flats probably couples and small families, but then you're moving into the family domains. If you're doing like
terraces and
semi-detaches, then you're looking at schools and stuff like that. Because there's layers to the value of this as well, and how long. Because what you want is you're looking at whom do you serve, and the next question is then, like you said, but the question is, what does their world need? So my example is I serve working professionals in a transitional part of their life. So you'll notice I don't say young working professionals. It's working professionals in a transitional part of their life.
Yeah, it's a good point, because there are older ones that are, sometimes are divorced or something like that. And
So you're catering for somebody who needs something.
Yeah.
So what does their world need? Number one, it's a working professional, so therefore it's access to employment zones. The second one is access to transport to and from work.
Yeah.
The third one is high internet service if they need to work from their home. The fourth one is desks and so on and so forth to maybe have that opportunity and have that space to do that. So I'm not going to provide 2 small rooms because I can't put a desk in as an example. They want higher spec normally because they are earning money, so they're not normally the lower end, or the people maybe on LHA rates or something like that, which is, again, they want another strategy. Living. Yeah, they want a more comfortable living service, and then they want good service, right? So they want, if they've got a problem, they'll get it resolved, or they'll get a response, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So in terms of, once you've determined that, whom do you serve and what do they need, then you can move on to the how can I make money? Because though you don't want it and try. So, and this is where people get it wrong again. It's because they go, I need 3 single lets because that's going to pay me £900. That's all I need to make my assets complete. Or I need £3,000, which is 2 HMOs, as an example. And even then, that's not correct, because what you need to understand is, well, what is 2 HMOs? Well, 2 HMOs of 6 beds is 1 10-bed HMO or 9-bed HMO from a revenue perspective. So it's how you make money. So how do I make money? Well, I make money in a certain way. So if I'm going into the property space, I've got 4 walls and a roof, right? Traditionally, there are some things that you can buy like that don't have roofs, yards and stuff like that. But we're going to talk about 4 walls and a roof for this purpose.
Yeah, well, residential definitely needs 4 walls and a roof.
Well, we'll just talk in general. It could be commercial 4 walls and a roof, right? So you're going to buy something with 4 walls and a roof, and then you're going to do that. Is then, well, how do I make money? Well, I'm going to either serve that top level person I'm going to create what those people need, and that's how I'm going to make money. So as an example, if it's a HMO, I make money by taking a property in a good location, providing great amenities in that property that's going to attract the people that I serve. It's going to give them what they need, and I'm going to chop that building up into 5 or 6 pieces, a bit like if you buy a cake from Costco and then sell it in a shop, as an example. You're going to buy the whole cake and then you're going to sell pieces of the cake. So there's 2 ways to chop up a residential property. It's either by days or nights. It's either by rooms or nights.
Yeah.
So rooms being HMOs, nights being service accommodation. So I'm then going to sweat that asset in that way, because that's how I can make money. So how much money am I going to make? Well, I'm going to add up all of my costs and my interests and that kind of thing. I'm going to cut my agency costs. I'm going to add in an allowance for voids maintenance, and then the margin on each room is then going to dictate how much money I make. Then you can look at how many rooms you need. That's a much better strategy than how many HMOs you need. Because if you need 10 rooms and your first one's a 10-bed HMO, what's your second one? 4-bed HMO.
Yeah.
Right? You might not even need to go anything crazy, but that's a good way to look at it. Or if it's nights, it could be, well, if I've got one large unit and I need 60 nights or whatever, and I'm getting an average of
at a certain occupancy and rate per night.
And I think I'm going to get 15 nights occupied per flat, and I could do it 4 flats, and that hits my 60 nights across 4 units.
So
that's the way to look at it. And then there's 2 further questions, and this will determine how successful you are. So the first 3 can be correct. The last one, the 4th one, is what am I good at? Self-reflection on that point is really difficult. You lie to yourself more than anybody else. It's really, really difficult, and you should take time on this. What are you good at? I know I'm not good at. I know what I'm okay at, and I know I'm really good at. And it's about managing the weaknesses, just being systemized on the things that are managing the weaknesses, teaming up
with people that have the other skills.
Exactly. Managing the bit in the middle through systems.
And if you don't want to reflect on it, do a wealth dynamics test that tells you.
Yeah, you can do wealth dynamics. That's a good example. That's how it's more how you communicate than what you're good at. But
there might be some other tests that say what you would be good at in certain fields, maybe.
Yeah.
Might be a way to look at it if you're not sure. But
you can always ask the people around you as well what you think you're good at. That's a good example.
Yeah.
The last one.
So when we met, you were good at sales and I was good at project management in essence, I suppose. So
it's a good combo.
Yeah.
And then the last point is then the one that's going to determine how quickly you move and how much of the world you're going to attract to you. And that is, what do I enjoy? Because if you can enjoy your days and you can enjoy what you're doing, you're more likely to do it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if you got a full-time job and you need to create a couple of hours a day to do this property stuff, then you need to make sure you're going to enjoy that part. And if you don't enjoy the parts, then maybe find somebody who can do that for you. And that might be a virtual assistant, or it could be something that you could systemize and outsource to maybe somebody like us who's a turnkey delivery process company.
Yeah.
Until the point where you get to,
So if you're like an outgoing person, let's say you're a Blaze on the Wealth Dynamics, you might be really good at networking, getting the contacts and stuff like that. But then you might need to outsource the number stacking or appraisals or property searching or something like that. Maybe that's an example.
No, absolutely it is. It's a great example. So you answer those 5 questions, and I ask people these questions and they will give me surface level answers. We're not talking surface level. I would say each of those questions is a 90-minute cave time.
Yeah, reflect on it a lot.
Yeah, go back and ask yourself. And I don't think these are just property questions, by the way. These are business questions, because our property business and our development business are 2 separate things, So, and I think we have different answers for both of those. Whom do you serve?
Yeah.
So getting that right and in line with your purpose is definitely going to move you forward faster than anything else you will do. Because if you get those 2 things right, purpose and strategy, you're going to have clear messaging, clear reason, enjoyment, and you're going to attract. It's the law of attraction. You're going to attract things to you because of that clear messaging and clear enjoyment. And you're going to find your journey much, much easier. The other part of this is if you find in this exercise that there's nothing you enjoy, there's nothing that you think you'll be good at, and you can't really align a purpose and strategy, maybe you need to look at something else.
It might not be
can be really challenging.
Yeah,
it might not be for you. I mean, that's hopefully that's.
We know people have gone through this and decided just to invest in something different because.
Oh, exactly. So we were on a call with one of the people who we were on training with, right, on Friday.
Yes. Yeah,
and he explained for a good 25 minutes
Why he got
why,
to yeah.
why he's now sold all his property assets.
Yeah, and
Or
he's,
he's selling.
and he's investing. He's investing in assets, but different types of
Yeah,
assets.
so he's now doing more of a trading thing and so on and so forth. And he sounds like he really loves it.
Yeah,
He was always a numbers and spreadsheets guy,
yeah.
rather than a property person. And, he was very much confused. So in his world, even though this is slower and more mechanical, it makes more sense to him.
Yeah.
So what's he good at? Well, he's good at those things. What
So
does he enjoy?
maybe if he
enjoys those
reflected on
things.
these 5 questions,
Yeah.
well, maybe he has over time without thinking about it. But yeah, if you reflect on that earlier, you might have come to that decision earlier, maybe, or something like that. But he's not the only person. It happens to lots of people, don't they? Sometimes you learn and you
100%.
evolve and all these sort of things. So it's very, very normal. Right.
And
so
you can get it wrong.
You can, absolutely. Yeah. So I suppose a good thing from my perspective, I was already working in the construction property space and things like that. So I kind of knew, what was involved, and I suppose a certain amount of challenges and things like that. Whereas I suppose some people jumping into it may not know until they've gone through it in a way. Right. To close this out then, I just want some top tips on working through to get to your purpose and strategy, basically. What's some top tips?
Keep the purpose aligned with your intrinsic values, and know what they are and be very honest and be deliberately selfish. That's the first one.
Yeah.
So an intrinsic value. So I like doing deals and I like that part of the sales process. It took me a long time to be comfortable with that because that's not a natural thing, but I really like it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like the mechanics of getting the first bit there. So we have somebody who does some coordination in our business.
Yeah.
We have somebody who might do some viewings, everything, but I like the sales part. So
it is fun to secure deals, isn't
it is fun. And that's a bit, so it's a bit like purposeful into strategy. If you know all of those things, keep it aligned with what you are trying to achieve. So and don't change, until you've achieved it. I think it's don't start until you've finished. I think that's the phrase. So if your first goal is, so let's say you set up a purpose, say, well, my first purpose is to be able to pay for my cash flow for my life/business, then don't start until you've finished. So we know people who've done their first property project, and it might be a cash flow property, might be sweating that asset. We then speak to them, say, right, what's next? And it's a random, something completely different, starting a whole new space or jump into something else or whatever. So don't start until it's finished. Get to that purpose goal first, and keep the strategy aligned with that, and then review.
Yeah, when you get to that first goal, then you reassess.
Yeah.
Enjoy that process as well. Sometimes you can gamify stuff a bit. So like I was trying to think of an example, but when I was working for a construction company, if we won a tender, we'd like ring the bell and tell the company what the project was and stuff like that. It's sort of like it just helps for that enjoyment. Maybe we need to do something like that when we secure a deal.
Quality stuff, and then we have our weekly wins. But you're right.
Weekly wins is a good one that we do every Friday, don't we?
Let's keep the enjoyment factor high to make sure everyone's feeling positive moving to the weekend, etc., etc. Today being a Friday, so we'll do that today. So I'm looking forward to putting my wins down.
I've got them drafted up already, ready to go.
Yeah, there you go. So it's a really big part of our business. But keeping that purpose aligned and having the strategy focused until you reach that first goal, and then you can reassess. Don't change it too often. That's a top tip. But I was going to do another top tip is, obviously I've already talked about this, is don't try and change the world until you can afford to do so. Nothing is new in property. There's just better ways to do the same thing, and learning from people around you. So go and find the best strategy out there that's going to help you achieve whatever purpose level you're on, and then execute that strategy. Surround yourself with those people so you're doing the best deals and the best. If it's developments, if it's just rental, you're finding the best agencies to help you, and stick with that. Don't move away from that. Again, it's like don't try and change then the world. You can do that in the future.
Yeah.
You've got opportunity. And the other thing is, it's time. You got to be allowing us enough time. So if you come to us and you said, my goal is 10K per annum and I want it in a year, I know nobody who's done that. There might be one or two people who could do that, but they were starting from a cash flow perspective.
Yeah.
10K a month, and they would be starting with a lot of capital.
Yeah, but even like an end-to-end process for, say, a HMO conversion might take end-to-end more than a year when you factor in finding the deal, planning process, build process, and all those sort of things. So
source, plan, finance.
Yeah.
Conveyancing, build, tenanting.
So there's a process for
income, refinance, all of those things.
So you can be realistic and say, I might have secured X amount, that's going to lead to that cash flow, but physically coming into your bank account on a monthly P&L basis might be 2.5-3 years down the line or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, set it over a period of time as well,
Yeah,
because you need to allow that.
A 3-year time frame for that is,
Good
it's
time.
challenging, but it's
Yeah.
realistic, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's
It's
good time.
doable. Whereas a year, it's just not going to happen, is it?
No, not at all. No, and it is doable. I mean, I wouldn't go for the big 10K. I'd go for the life cost
Yeah.
first, which you can probably get to, within a couple of years, and then reassess, because it might not be the
You
same.
can bring
strategy.
down your life costs, which makes it easier as well.
That
Because
was going to be my
you go
fourth
through
tip.
your bank account and go,
It's going to be my fourth tip, which is
Yeah.
there's two ways to make your cash flow more amenable. One is to make more cash flow. The other one is to spend less.
Yeah.
So, being really critical on the things that you're spending that are, maybe wasteful.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you went through your account, there would be things that were just knocking about that you didn't need to pay for.
yeah, an old subscription that you forgot about or whatever that's there. There's things like that you can do.
Yeah. Even ringing around, there'll be things that have expired,
Yeah, better
car
deals.
insurance, home insurance, Sky TV, all these things you can go through. I think I reduced my monthly outgoings by about 300 quid, in fairness, when I went through this exercise, which was about 10% of my chunk.
You're doing a good job when you do this exercise through your accounts, and there's not much you can do. That's when you're doing a
Yeah,
good
you're
job.
already on top of it. I probably need to do it again,
Yeah,
if I'm honest. Yeah, probably having a look, because it does.
So you'll find the first time you do it, because you just haven't paid attention to it, there's like
Yeah.
loads of things you can wipe off, and then the next year when you look at it, it might be like 1 or 2 or something, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Excellent, great stuff. So
Read the book.
if you haven't yet read the book, obviously it was launched in November 2025. It's Financial Freedom, the BDRR. Property Evolution is Changing the Game, which stands for Buy, Develop, Rent, Refinance. So
you can search Financial Freedom BDRR and find it.
yes, absolutely. And obviously we're very biased. We think it's great, but we wrote it. So there's lots of reviews and comments that have given some great feedback as well, which is really good to hear. So if you want to learn more, read the book and go from there.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Thanks very much. That was some good stuff there. So just to close it out, if you have not liked or subscribed on this on your platform of choice, please do so. That will help us to keep this show going and the high value content we get from guests and all those sort of things coming on board. So please do that. And until the next time.
Until the next one. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, sponsored by us at Property Portfolio Building. If you want to get in touch with us about today's podcast or any of the learning topics that we've gone through today, you can email us at podcast@invest-prop.co.uk or get in touch with us with whichever your social media platform of choice is. If you think you would add value to us as a guest on this podcast, you can please get in touch and let us know what you would be able to talk to us about. Other than that, we wish you well on your financial freedom journeys. And once again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.